Hello and welcome to the Football Preview Show here on GameTimePA-TV. I'm John Buffone, and throughout this episode we'll be checking in with all of our Game Time PA reporters to break down the most interesting matchups in their area. Let's start right here in Lancaster, where the game of the week is the Lampeter Bowl, when Conestoga Valley rolls into Lampeter Strasburg. Each of these teams enter the game with a 1-1 record, and both have shown firepower on offense. Conestoga Valley quarterback Grant Stoltzfus has passed for over 670 yards in 2 games, with 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception. LS also got back on the right track with a 20-7 victory over Penn Manor last week, where Bear Shank passed for over 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. With both these teams showing the big playability on offense, this could come down to some timely defensive stops or whoever has the ball last. Now let's see what's going on in the rest of South Central PA.
I'm Shawn Michael with Game Time PA's Franklin-Fulton, and for our game of the week this week, the Shippensburg Greyhounds will host the Bermudian Springs Eagles on Friday at 7. The Greyhounds showed a strong running game last week, led by Zion Ware, who had 20 carries for 181 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Gustafson also threw for 158 yards with 2 touchdowns, and Cody Gustafson had 6 catches for 116 yards. Shippensburg's defense also stepped up last week, holding the Trojans to just 183 yards of total offense and under 80 in the second half. The Hounds' biggest issue this season has been holding on to the football. In just 2 games, they have lost 6 fumbles. But if they can protect the ball, they have the talent on both sides to compete with Bermudian Springs on Friday.
Stone with the York Daily Record. Our Game Time PA game of the week here in York County is Northeastern hosting Susquehannock Warriors under first-year head coach Steve Wiles, off to an impressive 1-1 start, and they have a chance to eclipse last year's win total with the win here at Northeastern. Bobcats, however, 2-0 undefeated and sitting at the top of Division I. They have a very strong running back, or very strong stable of running backs, and they've won the top rushing attacks in the league. Susquehannock's going to have their hands full. They want to try to get win number 2, and Northeastern going to try to stay undefeated and go 3-0 in non-league play for the second time in 2 years.
I'm Zach Miller from the Evening Sun in Hanover, and our game of the week is DeLone Catholic hosting Union City, a team coming in from Tennessee. Union City is a 2-time defending state champion. They come in on a 31-game winning streak. They've beaten their 4 opponents so far this year by more than 40 points, so it's going to be a tough test for DeLone. But DeLone's coming off its first win of the year. The Squires took care of Columbia last week, 39-16. Zach Hart led the way with 102 rushing yards. We'll see Friday how DeLone can do against Tennessee's best.
Alongside Pat Huggins, this is Andrew Callahan out in Lebanon, where we have 2 bank games here in Week 3. The first, Mannheim Central coming to town to take on Cedar Crest, and a game, Pat, that should be a good test for the Falcons, who had a rough loss 35-13 at Lord Alton last week, but are happy about their lines, both offense and defense, and hoping to show that off against the Barons.
Yeah, they'll need to stay competitive with the Barons. It should be a good test for them again after Lord Alton last week.
And then we've got Elko hosting Lebanon, both teams 0-2. Who comes out with the first win of the season?
I think it's going to be Elko. I liked what they did last week against Palmyra. 30-22 loss, but they played real tough, and I think they found some things last week in that loss to Lebanon.
2 games to keep an eye on here in Lebanon. Kick it back to you.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of Game Time PA-TV. Thank you for tuning in. For updates on all your favorite games, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, enjoy the games this weekend.